Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to Kardec Radio. This is Spiritism, a closer look. We do this program every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Luiz Lima here, your host for tonight. And tonight, we are going to take a closer look at some questions that we have received from our audience. They come through email, comments in the chats, and different types of communication. Last week we started doing this questions and answers, but we incurred into some technical issues, so we had to stop. We didn't complete the program, just the beginning of it. So here we are. We're gonna do that today. So again, these are questions that we get from different presentations, talks, and different subjects. So let's try to cover a few of them. We're going to be doing more of these questions and answers in the near future, but let's just go for it. So we have a question number 1 here. And the question is, does Spiritism allow women to perform an abortion in cases of rape? Just make sure, I'm going to read it again. Does Spiritism allow women to perform an abortion in cases of rape? So we have to answer this in 2 parts. The first part of the question is, does Spiritism allow something? To make it very clear, Spiritism does not allow or disallow anything. There is no prohibition of any type. Spiritism teaches in detail about free will. We all have free will, and it has to be respected. So Spiritism is not the one that tells you this is right or this is wrong or anything in those lines. No. Spiritism gives us information. It's a body of knowledge. It will provide us with information that we can use to have a better life. However, we have free will. So, cases of abortion, abortion in cases of rape, rather. It's a complex subject because there is, in our society, in humanity, there is not a, I would say, a general consensus of, is there a yes or no? Some people agree with others, but however, Spiritism is very clear about it. Instead of giving us gray area answers, gray area style answers, left for interpretation, no, the answers are very, very, very clear. So before we talk about rape, I'm going to talk about abortion. To talk about abortion, we need to define well when life begins. Abortion means interference of a living being. So when the sperm or the sperms are around the egg and only one will go through. That one that goes through has to go through the membrane and reach the center of the egg. So there's a physical distance in there. It's minimal, but there is a physical distance, and the sperm has to cover that distance. It has to go from one place, which is the outer membrane, into the center of the egg. That takes about 4 minutes. It's a 4-minute drive, I would say, right? Once it reaches the center of the egg, the 2 protoplasms, male and female protoplasms, are gonna go into a fusion process, which takes about 15 minutes, quarter of an hour. During these 15 minutes, the incarnating spirit will launch a fluidic tie into that first cell. Fluidic tie is an extension of the perispirit. of the incarnating spirit. That is called conception. And that is exactly and precisely where life begins. So any interference or any any attempt to stop the process before the fluidic tie is launched is not abortion. Anything after is. It is. So that is very clearly and well defined in Spiritism. Now, think about this. In no time at all, I mentioned the source of the sperm. I didn't say it came from a husband. It came from a partner. I don't say it came from in vitro. I don't say it came from a sperm data bank. Sperm bank. No, I didn't say any of that because it doesn't matter. Conception is conception. Is the, when two protoplasms get into a fusion process. By that token, it doesn't matter if the sperm comes from a rapist. From the moral point of view, the source of the sperm, to answer the question here, does not matter. It could be, the source could be come from somebody cheating on somebody else, a lover or something like that. This is not under consideration. What is under consideration was the attempt to stop, the life. Was it before or after the fluidic tie? That's all that it takes here to answer the question properly. So Spiritism addresses the evolution of the intelligent principle. And the intelligent principle goes on its journey from different levels of accountability, regardless of the source of the sperm. So whatever the woman, and even those around, making suggestions, and so there's accountability here. If life gets stopped, if life is terminated, it's going to be a problem. There's accountability, regardless of the source of the sperm. When you get away from the Spiritist answer into our daily routines, it might seem strange. It might seem hard to swallow. It might seem difficult to accept. But that's why we need to make clear, this is not a legal question. This is not about the morality of the rapist. No, that's something else. He's gonna have to, offset for that wrongdoing one day in his life, this life, next life. It's gonna go back to him somehow, the rapist. We're not talking about him. We're not talking about the rapist. We're talking about the life inside the woman's body. It must be preserved at all cost. Life is life. We cannot terminate life just because we think we should. That's not the case. So, we have another question here. Question number 2. And it goes like this. Can you explain in more details why reincarnation is needed? I think they're asking me in more details because we have spoken about reincarnation so many times before in different talks, in different lectures, in different presentations. So, can you explain in more details why reincarnation is needed? Again, Spiritism studies the evolution of the intelligent principle. Evolution means we get better as time goes by, throughout time. We all started as simple and ignorant many incarnations ago. That was our very beginning. We all started as simple and ignorant, and we are all bound to reach perfection. So we know exactly where we came from, and we know where we are going to, all of us. So in order to reach perfection, we need to obviously get better. So we need to change somehow. We need to change in our inner core as spirits. However, we cannot make it all happen in one lifetime, because it's two things. It's not only getting better, it is getting better plus offsetting the wrongdoings of the past. Anything that we did wrong in the past, on this life or previous lives, we're going to have to offset those first, and then we're going to improve. So we need to be less worse first to be better. And we cannot just do it in one lifetime. We are not in a position at the level that we are, at the moral level that we are right now, living in a planet like Earth, which is a planet to address spirits of low moral standards. We just cannot do that in one life. We need several lives to do this. So in order to reach perfection, I'm going to have to go through several lifetimes, several reincarnations, to work on this, being less wrong as time goes by, and also being better. So we are given that opportunity to do this in baby steps. So there's two things here. First is the spirit has to be better, the intelligent principle. However, the intelligent principle is living here on Earth, where we are reincarnated and have a physical body. And that's something that becomes interesting. But let's go by analogy here. Imagine that you're going to learn how to drive a vehicle. So, in the very beginning, you get let's just say one of those old Beetles, in the 50s and 60s. It's a very simple car compared to today's standards. So that's how you start. So, you go and you learn and you get better. And there's a point where you're going to say, well, I wanted to be faster. I wanted to have to be able to do a little more, but the car, the Beetle, doesn't let me. I need to move on to a different type of vehicle that I can use to do more stuff. So I feel like I'm limited by the machine itself. So I get a better machine. Let's just say like a mid-size sedan. And then I start driving that mid-size sedan, which allows me to do much more, much better than the Beetle. It gives you more speed, more maybe stability, more driving range and stuff like that. However, there's going to be a point where I say, well, I've learned what I could with this new car, this mid-size sedan, but I think I can do more, because I see the drivers on a Formula One circuit. They can do a lot more than that. I want to do the same thing. So I need a different machine now. I need a different car. So what do I have to do? I have to get to the next level. So let's just say that I get a Porsche or a Lamborghini, and then I can do a lot more. It's a lot more stable, some much better driving experience, speed, much more stability, and all of that I couldn't do with the mid-size sedan, let alone the Beetle. And then when I learn everything that I can do about with this new car, say a Porsche or a Lamborghini, I want to do more. If I want to do more, I need a better car. I need like maybe a Formula One racing car style. So they are different stages, because me as a driver, being an intelligent principle, I am able to do more, but not with the Beetle. I am able to do more, but not with the mid-sized sedan. I'm able to do more, but not with the Porsche or Lamborghini. I need more. So you see, the intelligent principle has to discard the material parts to be able to do more. That's the analogy. That's the whole sense of about evolution. In order to do more, I have to throw out, quotes please, I have to discard this simple body. Then I get a body that lets me do more. And then when I've used that second body or second incarnation, now I need to do more. So the second body is not enough. So I have to discard it and reincarnate again on a different body that will allow me to do things that I couldn't do before, and so and so and so. So that's the relation. It's the analogy. That's exactly what it is. So we need to discard our bodies. We had to discard our bodies for each of the lives that we have lived so far, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do more. If I were still living, reincarnated in a caveman body or Neanderthal body, I wouldn't be able to do what I can do today. Same for you. So we had to discard all these bodies along the way and replace them with more sophisticated bodies that we can do more, allows us to do more, to have better and more advanced experiences. So the physical instrument, in our case the body, in the case of the analogy, the driver is the car, the machine, the physical instrument has to be discarded constantly, one after the other, for the spirit to be able to reach higher levels. Otherwise, it's going to be stuck. If I had the Beetle to this day for, let's say, just 50 years, I wouldn't be able to do anything. I would be stuck back in time. And that is completely against the idea of evolution. So the question was about explaining more in detail why reincarnation is needed. So hopefully I was able to address this to your satisfaction. It has to be we have to discard the older bodies. We had to, so we could live in bodies that allows us to do more advanced. And then we have a third question, and the question is, how come forgiveness can set us free? It's an interesting question, because we hear this a lot, right? Forgiveness, forgive people and this is gonna set you free, and so and so. We hear that a lot, not only in Spiritism, but in general. So I think what they're asking is, let's elaborate a little bit more. How come that happens? Well, let's go by analogy again. Let's say that when you were, let's just say 15 years old, you had a fight with your very, very, very best friend, your buddy, Joe, for example. So Joe was your buddy when you were 15, and then you had this huge fight. It doesn't really matter why, but you just had this huge fight, and you decided to not only part ways with Joe, but just put him on your blacklist. So as of that moment, when you were 15, so many years ago, let's just say, Joe now just made it to your blacklist. And when I say Joe, it could be a friend, but it could be a parent, it could be a brother, it could be a sister, anybody that you were close with. You had a good and nice relationship with, and then for some reason, which really doesn't matter today, you got into this fight, and this person made its way into your personal blacklist. So the problem with this is 5 years later, this thing keeps coming back. 5 years later, you remember that fight with Joe. You're still able to tell details. He was in this particular place, you know, there were people sitting, there were people walking. You can describe 5 years later with pretty good precision. If you have to tell it to somebody, can you tell your story about you and Joe? You would be able to, you know, tell all the details 5 years later. 10 years later, you're still able to do that. You're still able to provide the same information with the same level of detail. 20 years later, still same thing. Because what you are describing when 20 years later, your narrative comes back in, what you're feeling is the same emotion of that time. The feelings are speaking through your voice. The feeling is the same because, and why is it still so alive in you? Because the ties to that moment in time were never cut. This thing keeps coming back. And why does it come back? For different reasons. You can just be walking and you see somebody out on the street and say, oh, that guy reminds me of Joe. Oh my God, Joe, he did this. When I was 15 years old, I had to go through this. We had a big fight. You see, it keeps coming back. So facts of life will trigger you to, quote, go back in time and relive that time after time. So these things, this image, this general feeling keeps coming back because it never really went away. We are still carrying that inside. It keeps coming back. Something happens around us and triggers the memory, and the negative energy all comes back. All of it comes back. So I have to cut the ties. So there is no more, I'm just going to put this way, there is no more need to remember that so badly. The only way to cut the shackle that, you know, maintains or keeps me in the past is forgiveness. Because if I forgive, I'm untying myself from that past or that moment in time. That's what I should do, that's what we should do. Forgiveness is what cuts the shackles that are holding us to a past moment in time. And when I say a past moment in time, I'm using an analogy here, pretending that I had this fight when I was 15 years old, meaning in this lifetime. But it's more difficult, a lot more difficult if we are holding this, and this came from past lifetimes. So I had a fight with Joe 4 lives ago, 3 lives ago. So my past 3 lives, my past 4 lives didn't have to be so miserable, but I decided to have these shackles on my feet like a prisoner, carrying this thing, impacting my journey, impacting the way I move on my path to perfection. So these things prevent us from moving ahead because they're pulling me back. I'm being called, if you will, like I have a rope that ties me and somebody's pulling this. Oh, hey, come on, go back to when you were 15 years old, or go back to when you were 3 lives ago when this thing happened. And we can't move ahead. If we want to move ahead, we need to do so without carrying that weight. it has to go. We have to let it go. And here's the interesting part. Letting go is a lot easier than holding on. Holding on eats our energy, destroys us in all possible ways, more or less, but it does. It impacts our lives in so many ways because I keep holding on to it. No, I want to hold on to it. Letting go, it's a one-time deal. That's it. Joe and I are good. I'm going to talk to Joe and say, listen, remember this thing when we were 15? Oh my God, it's been so many years and so and so and so. Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. Let's just forget about this thing. Come on. If Joe doesn't like it, he's got a problem. But I'm freeing myself. So letting go is a one-time deal. Holding on is an everyday shackle that I have attached to my feet. And we don't tend to see things this way. We think that forgiving or forgiveness in general is a tremendous, it's like climbing the Everest, climbing the Himalaya, and it's not. Letting go is a lot easier. So there was the question, how come forgiveness can set us free? Well, hopefully I was able to give you a satisfying answer. That's what satisfied me when I was many years ago studying all of these things, studying Spiritism. That's what got me into Spiritism so much, because it makes so much sense. Spiritism makes a lot of sense, a lot of logic behind it. I want to thank you for being with us on this questions and answers Q&A program today. And don't forget, we do Spiritism, a closer look, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for joining us.